It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
So we talked about the 3 myths with real estate, but I want to kind of pivot and talk about what makes real estate investing so powerful.
Because it is a good thing.
Yeah.
And we've actually seen this manifest, again, across a number of our clients who've had a lot of success, and it is possible to build a lot of wealth investing
So I
in
want
real
to kind of
estate.
talk about the superpowers, the special go-juice for real estate. The first thing is what I like to call leverage growth through debt.
I think this is probably maybe the most powerful part of real estate investing and why a lot of people get so attracted to it.
But there's one scary thing. I use the word leveraged, which is also equated to debt. And we know debt, just like a sharp knife, it is a tool that is quite dangerous. But we want to create an example to show people what we mean when we say the power of leveraged growth.
So let's walk through a little bit of a case study. So let's say that you have a guy, Joe, again, that's an intern Daniel name that he came up with, buys a $150,000 house and he decides he wants to put down 20% down because he's a smart financial decision maker. So he puts down $30,000. The house grows at 4% per year, and after 10 years, it's worth $223,625.
So pause. So this is actually an asset, $150,000 asset that's growing at 4% a year. Now, from an asset class perspective, 4% a year, that's barely above inflation because inflation's 2.5% to 3%. So this is not something, I mean, there wasn't too many years ago, cash was doing 4%. So that doesn't get you excited, but you're like, well, wait a minute, how do so many people get so excited about real estate on something that's only growing at 4%?
The answer is the power of leverage growth because Joe now has a gain of $73,625. He was actually able to turn the $30,000 investment he put down into almost $104,000, which is an overall gain of 245% or about 12.5% per year.
So you can quickly see you have turned something that is a 4% slow growth asset into a better than, I mean, that's a really good rate of return at 12.5%. That's what leverage does for you. It essentially elevates at a multiple factor your rate of return. Now there is, I even tried to tell Daniel, he's like, there's no room for us to put that on the slide where I wanted to put a big asterisk because there's a big component that's missing here. There's finance costs.
Sure.
So there's a lot of interest that's accruing in the background. There's property taxes. There's a lot more that's going on. But from a simplicity standpoint, we want to tell you there is a component of this that people like leverage growth because it gives you a multiplier on your growth. Now, we'll get to the negative parts later, but you at least need to know that. The next thing, there are definitely in the real estate marketplace powerful friends and influencers. And what do I mean by this? The biggest thing is you guys know we're in an election year right now. You cannot turn on the news to not see somebody have an opinion about politics, except for, of course, on the Money Guy show.
Sure.
We try to keep that type of stuff out of it. But it is one of those things where when I think about real estate, it is good to have Washington, D.C. in your corner. So how do they ensure that they keep Washington in the corner of real estate? Is, first of all, a lot of lawmakers have money in real estate, a lot of money. But also, if that doesn't help, they have $383 million a year going into lobbyists that are out there pitching their strategy. And when I say $383 million, I'm talking about the largest interest group that does lobby, which is the finance, insurance, and real estate sectors.
So I imagine the question is, okay, well, which side is doing this, right?
Do
So
Democrats get the money?
One side's
Do the
gotta be, like,
Republicans
doing
get the
this.
money? Like I said, it's good to have friends. If you're going to have friends, why only have half of the friends, like Republicans or Democrats? Why not have all be friends? So you can see the way the money is given out is that Democrats get 50.3% of the money. Republicans get 49.7%. When we looked at Open Secrets, I'm sure if we look 2 years down the road, it'll probably be flipped the other way because these guys were equal opportunity money. And here's where this is going to shape up is the next supercharged benefit with real estate is tax benefits. You can't tell me all that money going over to Washington, D.C. for lobbying impacts and other things, it has directly resulted in some pretty powerful stuff that's built into the tax code. So let's go through a few of these. lower capital gains taxes.
Yeah, we know that a lot of times when we receive any type of income, we have to pay ordinary income tax. Well, a lot of times when we invest, and especially when we invest in real estate, if certain requirements are met, we actually get to pay a lower tax rate on those dollars than if we just went out and earned that income through a working job. You get a lower capital gain rate.
Well, and think about this too, Bo. With investing, if we lose money investing for clients, what's the most you can deduct in a year?
The most you can deduct, 100% of it.
Well, $3,000.
Oh, it's $3,000 if you have a carry forward
you can
loss.
take
Got it.
whatever gains you have, you can offset it to have losses. But if you have losses that exceed your gains, the most you can deduct in a year is $3,000.
Sure.
The rest you have to carry forward. With real estate, there's a little more play on the deductibility, which is it comes in. I think that ties into much more powerful taxes. Let's not forget, we also have power of 1031 exchange.
I think this is the one that people hear about, and they don't really understand the mechanics of how it works. But I have people all the time say, hey, I've got this thing, and I'm going to sell it, but I want to do a 1031 exchange. Not really understanding what that is or why it actually is so beneficial.
So a 1031 exchange is a like-kind exchange, meaning that real estate, now you can do this with other assets, but it's primarily real estate is where people see this, is that you can take a big gain that you have in some investment property. It can be rental property. It can be commercial developments and other things. And you can, if you have 45 days to designate another group of properties. And I always tell a smart person who's doing 1031, don't just name one piece of property, name multiple pieces of property because it might not work out. And you have 180 days to close. And if you do this appropriately, you don't pay taxes on the gains of the first project. So you can turn one real estate deal and then roll that into another 2 or 3 real estate deals. You can keep this process essentially kicking the can down the road on when you actually pay taxes. Now, one big caveat on this. Never, ever, ever touch the money. You're going to have to hire an appropriate attorney or somebody because once you touch the money, you've kind of tainted the whole process. But 1031 exchanges, super powerful, and I think it shows, once again, a lot of power and a lot of juice in this. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention the 199A or the QBI for the small business exclusion.
Yep. So this is a special thing that changed in the 2018 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, right? Isn't that what it was called?
We'll just call it the 2018 tax reform.
2018 tax reform. This was kind of a big deal that offered a big reprieve for a lot of individuals with certain types of income.
Well, everybody was a small bit because you hear QBI and you're like, oh man, this benefits small business owners. This is going to help Main Street. And then you see the fine print, and a lot of us were like,
wait a second.
What's SSTB, which means Specified Service Trades or Businesses. So everybody that's in businesses like accountants, financial planners, authors, celebrities, anybody who's doing services to get paid, they got kind of carved out of this QBI. They were told, well, once you make over $315,000, you don't get this benefit. But there's one huge exception because wouldn't you agree, probably real estate agents, that's a service.
Seems like a personal
Wouldn't you agree
business?
that probably architects, because an architect, an accountant, they're both kind of nerdy, drawing things, doing things, making things happen. How are they different from all the other service providers? I'll tell you how they're different. They're involved in real estate. So there's a huge carve out where real estate investors specifically get that 20% reduction for QBI on their income. It's huge. So I just pay attention to that. That is a very powerful thing for architects, real estate agents, and brokers. These are things you're taking advantage of. And then here's the other thing I think is a superpower when we talk about real estate. Is that it's part of a basic need. I want an iPhone, but I have to have shelter.
Yeah, I think a lot of investors want to get involved say, okay, well, I want to go buy residential rental properties because someone's going to need somewhere to live, or I want to go buy a commercial building because a business is going to need somewhere to operate. It's because it's that foundational need that makes it generally a good place to go put money and try to invest.
Yeah, we're always going to need water, food, shelter. So it's nice if you can take advantage of that and get into the basic needs. So that's another superpower to real estate.